Welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck, the podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I'm Cliffy D. You can find me on X at Cliffy D.
And I'm Tim Capper. You can also find me on X at Repact. That's REPPACT. And this episode of the podcast is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where if you use the promo code OWLSFlightDeck10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. So head over to sportbuffshop.com, use the promo code, put lots of merch into your shopping basket, save some money, and always support local.
And the Alouettes Flightdeck is all over the World Wide Web and social media. Make sure you check out our archive over at www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter/X over at AlouettesFLDeck. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/AlouettesFlightDeckPod. We're on Instagram over at Alouettes Flightdeck, as well as Threads at Alouettes Flightdeck. Make sure you check out our YouTube page where you can find all of our live streams and so much more at youtube.com/Alouettes Flightdeck. And last but certainly not least, if you want to support the podcast, head on over to www.flightdeckgear.ca and make sure you buy all of our merch as well.
That's true. Hey, we must just go throw it in here now too, eh? We're now on Blue Sky.
This is true. We certainly are on Blue Sky. I don't know how to do the app.
Just search for Alouettes Flightdeck. You can't miss it.
I think it's alouettesfldeck.bsky.social or something
like that. It's the same thing with Cliff and I, and we're also there too. So it's you can follow us there too. So as a just in case type of thing. So
just in case the Bird app decides to go belly up. I mean, they've been threatening now for over a year that it's about to expire or explode or something. But like the Energizer Bunny just keeps on going.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I still have an unopened pack of the rain poncho that the Alouettes gave out for the season ticket holders day that I didn't use on Thanksgiving Monday. So should I put it on eBay? Do you think it's worth anything, or is it just as good worth as much as the package that it's in, which is close to zero?
If you got someone to sign it, like maybe you got Cody Fajardo or William Stanback to sign it, maybe you can get like $1 for it.
Yeah, exactly. It was it was an interesting weekend. It was a great Thanksgiving Day weekend for Alouettes fans across the board because first year that they have really put their season ticket holder day in the same weekend as the Thanksgiving Day Classic. It was, the rain did not deter anybody, and obviously it helped too, with the Alouettes winning their game on Thanksgiving Monday. But it was just a great overall weekend, wasn't it?
Aside from the inclement weather, you're absolutely right. It was an absolute blast. Yeah, starting with Saturday, being able to go to the season ticket holder event, and they said it was going to happen rain or shine, and boy, did it rain.
But people showed up, though, man. That's the thing. People showed up for that thing, even though it was just coming down in droves.
I mean, raining cats and dogs. And, people still stood out there. You got your umbrellas, you got your poncho, you got your rain gear if you were smart. Players are going to practice in the rain. As long as there's no lightning, folks, it's just like a game. Just, no matter how heavy it rains, they'll still practice, and you're still welcome to sit out there and enjoy it. And wow, it was a real exercise in patience, I've got to say, because I mean, it's fun going to practice. It's fun to see what this team can do and seeing how they do their thing. But when the rain just keeps coming and doesn't stop, it kind of puts a damper on things a little bit. But for the most part, I would say that the people in attendance were in good spirits. And listen, the Alouettes were good about handing out ponchos and making sure you were taken care of. I mean, what more could you want?
Oh, I know. Giving them to us for free. And as you could tell, I think a few people did bring him to the game on Monday. We can talk real quickly about the season ticket holder day, since it was part of the, I guess we could say, of the weekend festivities for the Alouettes. Considering the rain itself, it wasn't as what it would be normally for myself or for you going there to a practice on any other day, because they had us go in a different direction. People were waiting in the rain. I know there were some people complaining about having to stand in the rain because they actually did scan the tickets this year and give you wristbands, but that kind of made sense because of them giving away, the hot dogs later on and going into the I guess the meet and greet, I guess we can call it, within the Big O Rotunda.
Yeah.
But I think considering the weather, I was quite happy with it. I really was. I mean, it's we actually got to meet some listeners, which we had never met before. I didn't get your name, but it was great meeting you. Again, I think it did very, very well. I talked to a lot of people there too, so they seem to be very happy. And we were able to talk with Mark Waitman, obviously, to get get a little bit insider information and stuff like that on what's to come, and hopefully and stuff like that. But obviously, we'll go into that a little bit later on this year when we have him on the pod. But overall, I think it was fine. I mean, it was a different change from it being at Percival Molson than it was last year. So overall, I think it was cool. I said, if you're a diehard, you went out there no matter what, no matter the weather. And we were 4 or 5 thick, deep on the sidelines, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they even brought in stands. I was like, what? They went all out for this thing, and they did a really good job.
Yeah, I think I don't think they were anticipating the rain to be so heavy or even to have rain at all, because let's not forget, last week was absolutely beautiful weather-wise in Montreal, and we were really hoping it was going to continue on into the weekend. Like, we saw the threat of rain, but like, hopefully it just passes over or it won't be so bad. But turns out it was that bad. But again, credit to Alouettes Nation, the ones that stood by and stuck through it to the bitter end, and got a chance to go inside afterwards to dry off first and foremost, but also too, the Alouettes did provide hot dogs and beverages for their fans, which was nice. It's a nice touch. The only thing is, if I had one complaint though, is it felt like they could have set up a couple of different stations to be able to get everybody moving, because again, when you talk about free food, everybody's going to line up for that, and that's the thing. Like, and even though the email announcing this event talked about unlimited hot dogs and beverages, I mean, you were only given 2 at a time. And again, with a long ass lineup like that, like, I mean, it would have been nice, especially if it's free anyway. So just give 4, give 5. I mean, okay, maybe not 20 hot dogs. That would be kind of piggish, but at the same time, like,
shades of the hot dog dollar days at the Big O.
Oh, Jesus, Murphy. Yeah. Oh boy, I don't miss those. My God, but
no, that's the only day where you're not going to be able to get into the restroom real quickly. So it's beer and hot dogs, but
no, and again, you're getting free food. My first inclination is like, shut the hell up. Be thankful you're getting something for free. But at the same time, like, if you're going to offer something like that, everybody's going to take advantage of it. Like, just space it out a little bit better. Like, have like 4 or 5 kiosks or tents or whatever you want to call it out, and just, you got to have stuff on the go. Like, I mean, just be ready with it. Grab your stuff, especially if you're only going to do 2 at a time. Grab your stuff, grab your drink, off you go, and then back in line if you really, really wanted to. But otherwise, like, I'm not waiting 45 minutes for 2 bloody hot dogs and a drink, and then have to go back in line afterwards because I'm still hungry. Nah. Again, still thankful the Alouettes thought enough to do this, but could have been organized just a smidge better in that regards.
Makes me wonder what it would have been if it had not been raining, and how they would have set up the kiosks for hot dogs. I don't know. Who knows? But again, it went well. They had their Q&A session. Obviously, if you hadn't been to the Rotunda before, usually just being there, just trying to get into the stadium, you now know how bad the acoustics are in the Rotunda. They're absolutely horrible. So,
and I thought we had audio problems when we first started doing our live streams. This pales in comparison.
Yeah, it was quite, it really was quite bad. But considering the situation, cool. By the way, one reminder I had, and was something that's very, obviously we'll ask Mark in a couple of weeks, but one thing that was reminded me, which I completely forgot about, dude, is that they mentioned that next year, 2024, will be the 50th anniversary of the 74 Grey Cup team. So I'm hoping, I said, we'll ask, but I'm hoping that they'll be, I'm sure, come on. Considering what they did this year for the guys who are being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I'm sure they're going to do something for the 50th anniversary Grey Cup team. So that's
I have no doubt.
Yeah. So I mean, they're right. They did for the 20th too last year, and so yeah, it should be fun. But still, either way, I'll give a thumbs up. Curious to see if they will change locations. Obviously, we've noticed that they haven't had practice as much as they had in the past at Percival Molson. But if you think about it, it's kind of good that they didn't this year because of the rain. So, because we would just been even more soaked. So, again, thumbs up for making the switch and making it a lot easier, obviously, on the players because the players came out a little bit later. And supposedly Tyson Philpott, even after the whole thing was over, was there in his civvies 45 minutes later, just doing autographs and stuff like that. So that's a good sign of showing out in the community itself. So
he's a man of the people, and we love him for it. It's just a good dude. We've talked about it. Like, as good as he is on the field, he's clearly showing that he's even better off the field as well. So yeah, definitely top marks to Tyson for making sure no fan was left without an autograph or a selfie or anything like that. So that's the kind of PR you want. That's the kind of goodwill you expect a football team's players to be able to do for their fans.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of rain and meeting up with people, Cliff, we had our very first, I'll say first annual fan meetup for the Alouettes Flightdeck podcast on Thanksgiving Monday at the tailgate. Let the people know what they missed if they didn't show up.
You missed deep fried turkey, which was excellent. And then you also missed the opportunity to meet Tim and I, which is also excellent. But we actually got a very nice turnout. I'm pleasantly surprised at how well it was. A lot of fans showed up wearing their Flightdeck t-shirts, whether it was the Cartoon Bird 56 or even just a regular Flightdeck t-shirt. Didn't matter. You were definitely welcome. The tailgate atmosphere, of course, is top tier as always. They got Key Vive, always puts on a fantastic tailgate every single home game. And the fact that they had their deep fried turkey with all the fixings just bumped things up to another level. Again, even with the inclement weather, still great spirits. Everybody was in a good mood. Everybody was looking forward to a really fun game, and it just made for an absolutely awesome fan meetup as well. Again, I'm so thankful to the people that did show up. I mean, we would have loved to have seen it into the hundreds, but maybe that might have been a bit of a too lofty a goal. But thankfully, we got more than one. So that was always, at least if we get one person showing up, that'd be great. To me, that would be a win. But we got considerably more than that. And again, we are so incredibly thankful for you, great listeners that showed up and came to be a part of this event. As Tim said, this will not be the last one. I'm a little hesitant to say first annual, but because I would like to see us try to do more of these if we can. But I mean, it all depends on you, the listener. So, I mean, let's say if we put on other events, if you're interested in us doing more meet and greets in other situations or whatnot, let us know in the comments on YouTube. Let us know on social media. Hit us up. Say, hey, listen, we love the fan meetup. We love the idea. We'd like to see you do more, and we'll make it happen. I can tell you right now, just based off of what we did this past Thanksgiving, I could see us doing this again. Maybe this does become also a Thanksgiving Day tradition as well. We'll see. But overall, I was very pleased and very happy that we got the turnout that we did this past Monday.
Yeah. And yes, I'll say the first annual Thanksgiving fan meetup. There we go. Does that satisfy your?
Okay. We'll roll with that for now.
But. Okay. Subject to change if necessary. Better check the fine print.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But again, I agree. Check out our socials. We did have a group photo shot that was there, and I know you mentioned because we were on the Turf District podcast yesterday. It's been a very busy week for us here. You can go back and watch us there. So we were on there.
And it's not over yet.
Yeah, I know. But go there. We talked about it too, and again, check out our socials for the pictures. And I know you mentioned, Cliff, that there were some guys who reached out to you on social who that weren't able to make it. So, but again, we appreciate everybody who came, for meeting you guys, meeting a lot of you for the very first time. It was fun. I would, again, as I had said to you before, I would have been happy if it didn't have been just one person, but it was more than that. So I was happy with that. So from there, us being bundled up as we weren't as bundled up as we had to be before we got into the stadium. We had a game to go to, didn't we? After that, we had our Thanksgiving Day Classic between us and the Ottawa Red Blacks occurring over at Percival Molson, where the Alouettes were coming into this game trying to stay ahead of the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the spot for the home playoff for the Eastern semifinal. And as we'd seen over the past couple of weeks, Cliff, that this defense for the Alouettes has just stepped up and done everything that they could to keep these teams off the board. And man, oh man, they just basically put on a clinic, just like they did the week before in Ottawa. The Alouettes knocked off the Ottawa Red Blacks by a final score of 29-3. Yes, you heard that right, 29-3. And for the second week in a row, Cliff, the Alouettes shut down the Red Blacks, holding them scoreless for 3 quarters for the second game in a row, which, by the way, was the Alouettes last did that, holding a team scoreless at halftime, but in two straight games was in 1976. But this team just absolutely did everything that they could, and they almost held them. Got their first shutout since 2009.
Yeah, and it was damn close. It was damn close to getting this defense nearly pitched a shutout. And credit to Noel Thorpe, defensive coordinator, getting his guys ready for this game. I mean, yes, Ottawa had a very minute chance to still make that Western crossover, but they would have had to win out, essentially. They would have had to win their last 3 games, including this past Monday against Montreal. So, unfortunately, again, you run into the buzzsaw that is this Alouettes defense, and no one's going to survive. And sure enough, Ottawa simply had no answer for this defense at all. And yeah, now, unfortunately, they are essentially mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And yeah, for the first time since 2014, the Montreal Alouettes have swept a season series against the Ottawa Red Blacks.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, was that a 4-game series also?
Nope, 2.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right, because one thing I didn't check is the last time that the Owls swept a 4-game series. They did they almost did it a couple of times, but
no. In 2014, that was Ottawa's inaugural year, or at least return, however you want to phrase it. They went 2-16, and yeah, they played Montreal twice, and both times they lost. So that is considered a sweep. At least back then, It was considered a sweep. Since then, Ottawa has always managed to find a way to win at least one game, if not sweep the series themselves. Even if it's just a 2-game or 3-game series. So past couple of years, so because of COVID and the way that the schedule has been working out, the Alouettes and Red Blacks have played each other 4 times over the past 2 years. And yeah, Montreal has, I think, won 3 of 4 both times. So, yeah. I mean, the potential to lose was still there. I mean, you didn't, despite the fact Montreal and again, Montreal, yes, quite handily beat the Red Blacks in Ottawa the week before. You still don't want to take that for granted. And I think this coaching staff wanted to make sure, like, no, we have to put our foot on their throat, and you got to sweep them. That's all there is to it. Yeah, they might be slightly more motivated because they still have a very small chance of making the playoffs, but as you said, they got to stay ahead of Hamilton. The Alouettes do. So you do that by winning, especially since Hamilton won against Saskatchewan last weekend. So they're staying on pace. So it's making this upcoming weekend's games very, very important for both Hamilton and Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, holding a team under 10 points for the first time since August of 2017. the team has just been clicking, and I mean everybody has heard to you know. Yes, the Alouettes are 0-7 currently versus the top 3 teams in the CFL, but yet they're also 9-0 versus the rest of the league. So you know, Owls have had a streaky year this year. You know, it's been multiple game winning and losing streaks, but man, they just seem to be going on all cylinders. And obviously, we'll talk about the upcoming matchup this week in Edmonton, but because there are could be a lot of implications by that time that we kick off on Saturday. But what can we say about this team, though, dude? I mean, the game itself, I think everybody that played this week just did a phenomenal job, considering, the things that this team has had to overcome when it's come to player injuries and stuff like that. We had a new kicker this week. William Stanbeck was out with an illness. It just, again, everybody seems to be stepping up, whether it be on the offense or the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, although I will say the offense did take a little bit of time to get warmed up because the first couple of series were really not much to write home about. I mean, Cody Fajardo seemed like he was really having a hard time moving the ball downfield. He was hitting his receivers, but for a lot of short gains, or he once again decide he's going to go for a run on his own and try to move the ball that way. But yeah, the first quarter, I mean, there's 1 point scored as a result of a missed field goal by Jose Maltos. But once Cody and company got their act together, once they finally started clicking, yeah, that's when we got to see some really exciting stuff. And yeah, all of a sudden Cody turned it on. He became that gunslinger. He was taking a lot of risks, but more often than not, they were paying off. Aside from that one interception he threw, which he had absolutely no business even attempting on that very soft throw, essentially into triple coverage.
Went back and looked at that, by the way, Cliff, because I remember saying the same thing. He wasn't able to follow through. So I'll give Cody back this one. Usually most of the time throwing into triple coverage, don't do that. But in this case, just wanted to make a quick caveat that he was hit as he threw. So it was kind of like the one a couple weeks ago. It was the same thing where he got hit and it was intercepted. So
at least it didn't cost the game for Montreal this time around. So
yeah,
fair. And that's the thing. As I say, no risk it, no biscuit, and that's what it is with Cody. Is he's going to take those chances. When it pays off, he looks phenomenal. When it doesn't work, you just sit and cringe and like, okay, we'll get him the next time. I mean, what else can you do at that point?
Yep, that's right, man. Before we get obviously into the superlatives for the players this week, we had a player finally reach that infamous milestone, didn't he, dude?
We sure did, and I want to say that podcast karma is continuing on into the next week because Sean Lemon finally, in the third quarter of this game, notched his 100th quarterback sack in the Canadian Football League. Unfortunately, Dustin Crum will go down in history as the quarterback who gave up that sack. And again, congratulations to Sean. Well deserved. I mean, he's done so much in this league and has just been a breath of fresh air for the Montreal Alouettes. Just been a real presence of everything that he's done on this team, how he's been able to take the young guys on the defensive line under his wing and really show them the way. And again, Lawal Ugalak has played like his hair is on fire. And that a lot of that is because he's lining up with Lemon, and it's like the student and the teacher. It's beautiful to see. Like, he is performing at such a high level. And we spoke with him after the game, and he even gave a lot of credit to Sean Lemon about how he's helped him become more of a professional and, shown him the little things that you got to do in order to become a next level player. And my God, the ceiling is so high on Ugalak. And a lot of that truly is as a result of Sean Lemon kind of being an extra coach for him on that defensive line.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny. Sean Lemon gets this sack almost It's almost 12 years to the day that AC set the record for most passing yards in a career when he did that back in 2011. So good things happen on Thanksgiving in Montreal, man.
They can. And did Ben Cahoon not set a record as well on Thanksgiving?
I think he did. There were so many records set that year, by the way, by AC. I have to go back and check, but I think you're probably right. So
yeah, there's just something about the Thanksgiving Day game that just brings out the best in this team more often than not. And my God, yeah, it just makes for a great atmosphere all around. And we got quite the turnout at Percival Molson Stadium this past Monday as well.
Man, did we ever? I mean, even with the rain, and we were talking with Alouettes president Mark Waitman, not only at the season ticket holder day, but also at the tailgate, because he came by to see us before the game kicked off. And yeah, man, he was saying what the crowd could have been if it wasn't raining. Basically, continuous rain throughout the entire game, because it may have scared off a lot of people, but still. 20,644, second largest crowd of the year so far. To the home opener when OLP played. Yep. Dude, that's absolutely amazing, and it's and to hear, by the way, and he said that we could say this specifically, to hear that those numbers, that number that was given out, those are bang on numbers. Those don't include hardly any, if any, freebies or any comps, because I know the Alouettes are trying to tighten it up a little bit when it comes to actually reporting the correct numbers of people within stadium. So again, just over 20,600 plus, man. And they stayed. That's the thing. The amount of people that was on the field post game was crazy. I mean, yes, it was Mini Al's Day. I understand that. I know there are a lot of football teams in attendance also. Again, Thanksgiving Day Classic in Montreal. It's our Labor Day Classic. It is our tradition, and I'm glad the people showed up. And again, usually, if this had been early in the season with raining like that, people wouldn't have shown up as much as they did. Maybe we would have gotten 15.
Maybe.
I'm very proud that we had just over 20,000. So, and man,
I think
can you imagine what the crowd could be like if, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, I think what helped too is that people now know that the Alouettes are going to be in the playoffs for sure. It's still up in the air whether we're going to have a home playoff game or not. But I think between it being Thanksgiving, a long weekend, you probably had the day off from work or from school. So why not come out to the stadium and watch a good football game? And sure enough, the fans were treated to a really good football game if you're an Owls fan. But we've talked about this for years, folks, that the Thanksgiving Day game is tradition. It is very much a part of being in Alouettes Nation. I mean, that is our game. And that is the game that we look forward to, Tim and I, every single year because of everything that's surrounded by it. Like I said, the tailgate, the everything about that is, again, I can go on and on. I don't want to bore everybody, but I mean,
the tailgate, the home game, the ambiance, again, like you said, it's just, there's just so much. Again, it's our tradition. It's a part of the lexicon of Montreal pro football.
And typically the weather is nice. I'll say,
I know. I saw a picture, by the way. The picture from last year, it was nice and sunny.
8 times out of 10, folks, the weather is perfect. Like bright, sunny. Might be a little cool. You might need a light jacket. But there have been times too, like I've been there in t-shirt and shorts in October. So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could have been a nice day. It's just, unfortunately, this year the clouds opened up and just rained down on us. But you know what? It really didn't stop people.
And people are asking. I'm sure people are asking. They say, "But Cliff and Tim, don't you usually sit underneath where you don't get wet?" People need to remember that this is the one game of the year because of the pluses of having an Alouettes season ticket membership. that allow us to upgrade our seats. So we probably had the best seats that we've ever sat at Percival Molson, bar none in the history that we've been there. That we were basically right on the 55-yard line for that game, 7 rows up.
Yeah, just absolutely perfect view of everything all over the field. Like you saw it all. And
you heard the chatter. The chatter was a story in itself.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of beaking between both teams. I mean which again, you want to build up that rivalry. You want to do the whole 417 battle, whatever you want to call this. That's what it is. I mean, like 2 division rivals at the top of their game. Ideally, that's how it should be. Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of jaw jacking, a little bit of smack talk, and listen, we're here for it. We love it. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Except for when Louis-Philippe Bourassa got a objectionable conduct penalty because he was barking a little too much at his former team. But at that point, the Alouettes were ahead. I think 26-0 at that point. So like, I don't think you're gonna cause any problems at that point.
No. Obviously, there are a lot of huge pluses too. Probably one of the leading guys for a potential rookie of the year, Reggie Stubblefield had just an amazing game himself. The defense himself, I think, had 6 sacks, and I'm double checking that now as we speak. That's one hell of a story. Obviously, we want to be, if we can, we'll get Reggie on in a couple of weeks just to hear his story on where he's come from being on the team to camp to being cut to being put on the practice roster. And then being a starter and just being as dominant as he has, and it's just been a great thing to see.
It really has. It's
5 sacks.
What a story! I mean, like this defense, as we've talked about ad nauseum, is this defense has been on point and just getting better. It feels like every single game, and Reggie is a huge part of that. I mean, he had a great pass breakup that, quite frankly, he should have picked that one off. But okay, it happens. We'll blame the rain. It was a little too slick, and he couldn't get hold of the ball. Okay, it happens. Point is, he made a great defensive stand, but
he Milli Vanilli that. And if anybody gets that, please email me or DM me.
Yeah, and make sure you take some aspirin because your back has got to be killing you. But Reggie also too was instrumental in one of the major plays. After Dustin Crum couldn't get anything going, the Red Blacks decided to go with Nick Arbuckle at quarterback. And during Arbuckle's first series, he rolled out and into basically the waiting arms of Reggie Stubblefield, who managed to strip the ball loose into the waiting arms of one Tyrese Beverett, who took it back to the house for a pick 6, which he is known to do in October. Because let's not forget, last year in Edmonton, Tyrese Beverett had himself I think it was 106-yard pick 6.
Yeah, it was. Yep, it was off of a deflected ball. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So there's just something about October and Tyrese Beverett scoring pick 6s, and he's just keeping it going, folks. That's what he does. But credit to Reggie for the strip sack and just outstanding play. He's making tackles, cornerback sacks. I mean, this kid is doing it all. He truly is making a name for himself in the Canadian Football League. And already, I've seen a few other people right away. It's like, you got to crown him. That is your most outstanding rookie this year, Reggie Stubblefield. And I tell you what, folks. I mean, you look at Tyler Sneed, you look at Lawal Ugalak. Both of those guys have also put together very formidable campaigns and definitely deserve to be in that discussion. But my God, Reggie Stubblefield is doing everything possible to basically cement himself as the Eastern nominee of most outstanding rookie. And how do you go against him, quite frankly? My God, I mean, just his story alone is worthy of mention. And again, I too am looking forward to having him on the show to be able to talk about that. But my God, I mean, that alone is impressive. But for him to be able to play at the level that he is in his rookie campaign, simply outstanding. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the young man. He's just definitely shown up, shown out, and really, really made himself a force on this defense.
Yeah, the defense itself, with Beverett scoop and score this week, I think it was the third week in a row that they've actually had to have a defensive touchdown. We had DeQuow last week. We had
Sean Lemon last week.
Yeah, Sean Lemon last week, and and we had one versus Calgary too. I'm trying to remember.
Well, Marc Antoine also had a pick. I don't think it was a pick 6 though.
No,
it was just a a regular interception. I don't believe there was. No,
I think it was 3 straight weeks that they've had a defensive score.
Yeah.
So, but either way, but still, they're and it's complimenting well. As I said, they're stepping up at the right time. Yeah, it's weird to say, well, they're not 9-0 versus the rest of the CFL for nothing, but they're playing at the right level at the right time. So, but also we can't forget about the offense itself. Austin Mack was back. He didn't get that many targets, but then again, considering that the guys that we have that are surrounding him, he can be like a distraction for the other defenders. But him, you talk about him and Cody Fajardo. That's one of the stories as of late. How well that these two guys are now connecting. Tyson was on the 16 for such a long time with the hammy, and now again, he led the team in yardage. So, I mean, you have everybody that's out that's really playing well. Him, Cole Speaker, a guy who made a name for himself last year in camp. Austin Mack, again, did well this week. Walter Fletcher, again. Tyler Snead, this year's standout in camp. So they're just, they are, everything's, again, I sound like a broken record, but everything's coming together. And with Cody consistently having a high completion rating, you can't complain. Even if he only has a touchdown, he's other people to back him up, not only on the receiving core, but also when it comes to the running game, at least for the last couple of games.
Yeah, no. The one thing you can definitely say with Cody is high risk, high reward with a lot of his play. But when he airs it out, I mean, more often than not, I mean, he finds his receivers and just he stretches the field. He makes the defenders work for every single yard. It's absolutely incredible. And as you talked about, the connection with Tyson Philpott couldn't have come at a better time. And even speaking with Tyson after the game, the confidence is just brimming off this guy. Like, big smile, so excited. Like, he gets hyped just thinking about it. And most people would be like, okay, it was just another day at the office. Not for him. It almost feels like he was on a mission. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, I got to prove myself to this guy. I got to win his trust. And he has. There's no question about that. Like, just with the offensive production we've seen out of both Philpott and Fajardo over the past couple of weeks, these two are connecting, and truly it could not have come at a better time. I mean, we were worried about that when Tyson was on the 6-game list and it continued on. Like, is he going to get a chance to show that he can do he had an outstanding rookie campaign to the point where he was the Eastern nominee for most outstanding rookie. And how do you follow that up? And I knew that was weighing on Tyson's mind just a little bit, but once again, like he was last year, coming alive at the right time, finding that connection with his quarterback. Last year was Trevor Harris. This year it's Cody Fajardo. And these two have just been an absolutely outstanding combination. Yes, Austin Mack, Tyler Snead, Cole Speaker, like, these guys are the ones that are getting a lot of the reps, a lot of the catches as well. But I think the main target for Cody Fajardo has to be, without a shadow of a doubt, Tyson Philpott.
Yeah, again, it takes a lot off when it comes to Austin Mack. And by the way, shout out to Austin Mack for his J. Rich shout out shirt.
Oh my! Alouettes legend Jamel Richardson is the latest who have been immortalized on one of Austin's T-shirts, and absolute fire. There's no question about it. Like, for Austin to show the love for the guys, and he even said it too. Like, these are the guys that came before me. Like, I'm here because of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's shown the love to SJ Green, to Jay Rich, to Anthony Calvillo, Marc-Antoine Dequoy even has gotten a T-shirt, and he was even asking us, like, who should I put on next? So I'm throwing out names. I'm like, you got to put. I want to see a Brian Bratton shirt. I want to see Kerry Watkins. I mean, you want to go back to those days.
Wow,
I mean,
yeah.
You talk about the receivers that they walked so Austin Mack can run. That's it. So I fully expect, but in fact, I'm really looking forward to Saturday, because he's got to have somebody in mind by now, and I can't wait to see who's next. Who's the next Alouettes legend that's going to be immortalized on an Austin Mack T-shirt?
Exactly. Cody Fajardo for the game was 28 of 32 for 272 yards, 1-1. The leading rusher for the team was Caleb Evans, was Walter Fletcher, who was started in place of the William Stanback. 14 rushes, 43 yards. So it's not what we expect. But it was just an overall game between him because Joshua Antwi had an amazing run of 35 yards. Cody Fajardo on basically his 3 attempts, he got 27 yards. They were outright just run plays for Cody Fajardo. No hesitation at all in any way, shape, or form. Caleb Evans also had 14 yards and a touchdown. My only concern, by the way, we're curious to see what's going to happen this week. And I know I could be getting more into this into the preview of the game coming up, Cliff. But Jeshwin post game had a lower body injury, and this is what kind of scares me going into next week. The Owls do not have a practice until tomorrow. We're taping on a Wednesday. They only have one practice this week before they head off to Edmonton. I'm curious if you want to know very potentially who's going to play next week or play this week. Check and see what the injury report will be once it is reported over at CFL.ca. Because does Fletcher get another turn? It would mean putting two American running backs behind center. Because Jeshwin he's a ratio breaker. He's a ratio breaker. So I'm curious to see what's happening. I know, again, we talked to him post-game. We're going to leave it at that about his lower body injury, but we're hoping to hear good things, and we're expecting him to play, but we'll see once the injury report and the depth chart comes out. But from there, Tyson Philpott, we talked about him before, 6 targets, 6 receptions. He led the team with 90 yards and the touchdown. Cole Speaker, a hard-fought 30. He took some shots. Man, did he ever. Walter Fletcher, 9 targets, 9 receptions, Cliff, for 27 yards, so Fletch got into it. Austin Mack, only 40 yards on 3 targets, but still, again, he made his presence known. Tyler Snead, again, too, stepping out. Really, he's making a name for himself in this league. 7 receptions for 78 yards. And Jake Hardy had a catch also for 7. So you can't do, again, spreading the ball out. Fajardo, again, has only 4 incompletions on the game. I think he's averaging about 6 overall incompletions over the last 3 per game. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Again, and combination of him and obviously what the defense is doing. And the Owls are currently on that 3-game win streak.
Yeah, and the offensive line is doing a much, much better job than what they have been in compared to earlier this year, as far as giving Fajardo the time and space to do his thing properly. Not taking nearly as many sacks. I remember at one point, someone had projected that the Alouettes were projected to give up close to 100 sacks of Fajardo, and thankfully that ship has sailed. That's definitely not happening. This offensive line has gotten their act together, even created a couple of really nice lanes, as you saw with the Antwi run. I mean, he took off 35 yards later. He is down. He's just unbelievable. Just a great run. They're doing a much better job creating the lanes. Fletch was able to get a couple of really nice runs as a result too. I mean, things are starting to come together at the best possible time. This is when you want your team to shine. This, like, winning in July, August, yeah, that's important to a degree. But again, when they talk about this season, the CFL season doesn't really start until after Labor Day. Well, again, we saw what happened after Labor Day. The Alouettes were on a bit of a losing streak, not looking good, not looking cohesive, but they've got it figured out. And again, this is the time of year you need to be winning football games. If you want to make not just making the playoffs, but you want to have that home field advantage for the Eastern semifinal. Simply put, you got to win. And now the Alouettes have put themselves in a very good position. This coming weekend is going to tell the tale. If the Alouettes go out to Edmonton and beat the Elks, they will secure that home field playoff game. If the Hamilton Tiger Cats lose to the BC Lions, then Montreal does.
On Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could know the playoff situation by Saturday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
But all this to say that, yes, the Alouettes are doing the right things at the right time. And believe me, if you're not excited about that, folks, if that doesn't get you going, then quite frankly, I have no idea what will.
Yeah. Quick, couple more things before we put this one to bed and start looking forward to the Edmonton Elks. A couple of things I wanted to ask you about, Cliff. A huge difference week to week between James Letcher between last week and this week. Does it concern you at all, or is it just a matter of that the teams have more? Obviously, you're playing the same team back to back, but is it because the lanes just weren't there, or is that the Red Blacks had more tape on them?
I really think it was just it could be a combination of the two. Personally, from what I saw, like he looked a little hesitant in a couple of his returns, and as a result, was lucky to get 5 yards, for example. Like he had one really nice return. Now, mind you, also too, Ottawa's punter Richie Leone was basically kicking out of his end zone, so Letcher was able to take the ball at midfield, and I think he returned it like 35 yards, close to. I thought he was going.
Yeah,
I truly thought he was going to take that to the house, and I think had he not been shoved out of bounds at the very last second, that could have very well happened. And after what we saw of him in Ottawa, you couldn't help but be excited. But like maybe now it's kind of cooled down a little bit, or maybe it's, as you said, playing the same team twice in the span of a week. They're going to learn a few things. Like if they didn't know about him before, they sure as hell know about him now, and they may have adjusted accordingly. That's one thing with Bob Dice. He is a special teams guy, so maybe he'd probably say, "Hey, we gotta get this little guy and make sure he stays in his place." So
yeah,
could very well be that, and we'll see what happens when they go to Edmonton and see how well prepared they are for James Letcher, because he's got the potential. We miss Chandler Worthy. We definitely wish he was the guy returning those kicks and making another house call, but this is the opportunity now for Letcher. Like this is his chance to show that he belongs here as well. That he also can be a threat and be a part of that discussion along with Worthy as far as returns go for the Alouettes.
Yeah. Also, we don't know what the status is as of yet when it comes to David Cote this coming week. So obviously with Jose Maltos and how he played an okay game. He was 2 for 4, but I after seeing the actual highlights itself, I know on his first field goal, he just missed it to the left. Same thing with the other one. It just slight. Either one on the two that he missed, they were just slightly missed. Does it concern you knowing that we don't know the current situation from David Cote? Now, mind you, that David Cote seemed to have the yips before him going on the 1-game injury list with a thigh injury. But does it concern you either way, depending on which guy is going to be kicking for us this week?
Well, and one can't help but now wonder if that injury to Cote was the reason why he was having those yips. Like, could that have been something that was kind of bubbling under the surface and just now has come to light?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. The only person who could truly answer that would be David Cote. With Jose Maltos, though, I mean, we saw him in preseason. Like, the guy can kick a football. There's no question about that. He had a walk-off winner in Ottawa for the preseason game. So, what was he just inspired of playing his former team? Even though it was a preseason game, who knows? But yeah, at least we can say every time he kicked the ball, points were scored. It's just that ideally you'd prefer actual field goals versus rouges, but he still scored points. So I guess give him credit for that. I mean, yeah, hopefully he can tighten things up a little bit if he is going to be the kicker going forward, at least until Cote gets back. But we'll chalk it up to, I don't want to say opening day jitters, because as I said, he did play the very first game this season in Ottawa in the preseason. So he has seen the field technically for the Alouettes. But in an official capacity, this would have been his first game. And could it be nerves? Could it be what? Who knows? Maybe the weather truly did affect him maybe just a little bit. It's hard to say. But still, he did make a couple of field goals. He kicked off. His kickoffs were nice. I mean, there's definitely something there. So hopefully David Cote gets right, gets himself back on track health-wise. And until then, this is Jose Maltos' job to lose.
Yeah, we did find out earlier last week something that Cliff and I knew anyways was coming. That Julian Grant is going to be out for the rest of the season, even though they've only listed him on the 1-game injured list. I'm still trying to find out if there is a limit to that you can put on the injured list. I don't think there is, but I mean, considering the Owls have had so many people on there this year, just get better, KGG. We know it was a operation on the shoulder. We hope you get better, dude, and you come back in 2024 stronger and better. By the way, too, speaking of the injured list, Cliff, one thing, if I were to have one wish for the rest of this regular season and into the playoffs, is I'd love to see an appearance by Reggie White Jr. I want to see him back on the field at least once. I really do.
Yeah, no, I sincerely hope he can find his way back on, and even if he makes his debut during the Eastern semifinal, regardless of where it's played, if just knowing that Reggie would be back in the lineup would be a tremendous boost. That's not to say that the other guys aren't playing outstanding football. Like this receiving core truly has been something to see this year, and I still laugh. I still think about how everybody in the preseason was talking about, oh, no Jake Winicky, no Eugene Lewis. The Alouettes are going to be trash when it comes to receivers. And look what they've done. Despite the injuries to Reggie White, despite Greg Ellingson essentially seeing one game this year. Look at what Austin Mack, Tyler Snead, Tyson Philpott, Cole Speaker, Hergy Mallow when he was here. I mean, like, guys step up when the time comes. And this... how excited must Cody Fajardo be every single game day, knowing he's got all these studs to throw the ball to? And now you're going to say, like, maybe hopefully later on this year, Reggie White can join that party. Oh my God, that would be tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. So we're hoping for it. Every time we talk to him, you know, he's in great spirits. And he says, I'm almost ready. I'm almost ready. And we're almost ready for Reggie to come back too, because, you know, it's just going to make what I feel is a very good receiving core just that much better.
Yeah, I agree. You're talking about Gina before. The Alouettes head to Edmonton to face the Elks on Saturday at kickoff is at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local. They'll be facing Gina Lewis for the very first time since Gina was signed by the Elks as a free agent. The Owls go in as a 2-point favorite. To me, that was a surprise. But anyways, it was lower yesterday when we were talking on the other podcast, but at least it's gone up. The Owls are 4-6 in the last 10 in Edmonton, but have won the last 2 at Commonwealth. It is going to be a very interesting matchup. Obviously, it could be a very, you know what? It could easily be it makes me wonder how much the rosters might change based on the outcome on Friday night. If Hamilton does lose and it does give the Alouettes the home playoff game, it makes me wonder how much that the rosters might change from day to day. I guess we'll see. But I would imagine that they want to keep their momentum going because, you know, usually the team that has the most momentum going into the playoffs, that's the team that can go quite far, obviously. So, and on top of that, we're hoping that they show out for us, considering that we will be in the stands at Commonwealth. So we make sure that you guys stay tuned, obviously, for Flight Deck Live for on the field at Commonwealth postgame.
Absolutely. Definitely excited to make the trip out to Edmonton. Definitely excited to see our guy Gino. Even though he's wearing the different colors, he's still our guy. So we're always going to show love for our man Eugene. But I look at this game and maybe things will be decided playoff wise by the time the Alouettes take the field on Saturday. Maybe not. I still expect this team to give a full effort though, because Edmonton. Yeah. Even though Edmonton has been eliminated from the playoffs, it's crazy to think that as early as 2 weeks ago, they were still in the playoff hunt. That to me is astounding. But as the case is, unfortunately, Edmonton now has a chance to play spoiler potentially for the Alouettes. So I think Montreal is going to go into this game still with that mindset of you got to win. You got to win. I mean, Darnell Sankey did promise that the Alouettes were going to win their last 5 regular season games and then win the Grey Cup. So you know he's going to be ready. You know he's put a little pressure on himself by coming out with a statement like that. And listen, he's 3-0 so far since making that statement. So I mean, he's living up to his word as far as you can see. But I think Montreal is going to go into this game regardless of how Friday night turns out between BC and Hamilton. I think Montreal is going to come into this game ready to work, ready to show out, ready to remind everybody in case they started forgetting, even though it's a short week, remind them once again just what this Alouettes team is capable of.
Yeah, and obviously for the very first time, they're going to go up against the cheat code quarterback and Trey Ford. That's going to be an interesting matchup itself between him and the defensive line for sure.
Yeah, like I said, there's some true studs on this Alouettes defensive line, and you know, I think they'd been a lot more happier if they were playing Taylor Cornelius, who was just struggling earlier this year for the Elks, and now you're going to have to face the young hotshot Canadian quarterback in Trey Ford, and the dude's magic. I mean, he's like a little Patrick Mahomes out there with some of the moves that he's able to pull off, and you know what? I think this defensive line, though, is going to be ready to go. Like I said, Sean Lemon, Lowell Ugolak, even Mondo Sewell, former Edmonton superstar. I think he'll be amped to go back to his old stomping grounds and remind everybody.
Homecoming for Ugolak also. That's
true. He's also an Alberta boy. So, again, they'll be excited to be out there.
Fletcher, too, if he plays.
Yep. We even talked about that with him post-game, and just like Gino has had this date circled on his calendar for obvious reasons, so is Fletch. You know, like if he gets the opportunity to play, and based on what he did this past Monday against Ottawa, you'd be hard pressed to keep him out of the lineup. Quite frankly, I think he'll get a chance to go and remind Edmonton what he's capable of. So, I won't say it will be a revenge-minded game. I don't think it's going to have that kind of tone to it, but I think just a simple reminder to like these teams, like, look what you gave up and look what you let walk out the door. And or in Ugolak's case, yeah, I used to come to games here. I know what it's all about being here in Edmonton, but I'm doing it for the Alouettes. So I mean, he's going to want to put on a show as well. I'm sure he's going to have friends and family come to the game as well, and he'll put on a show for them as well. I got a feeling that Lowell is going to have himself a pretty solid game too.
Yeah, exactly. I think I seen one of the post game talks from interviews with him. I think he said he's expecting in the potentially in the 30s. I think that's what I heard. I think it was him that I heard about that. So but either way, it's gonna be it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun seeing our guys out in Edmonton for the very first time, some for the very first time, and us catching up with others too. So this matchup's going to be fun, and looks to be so far. We won't got to worry about rain, Cliff. We just have to bring a jacket. But hey, it won't be because of rain.
No, looking to be bright and sunny out in Edmonton this weekend. So very excited about that. As you said, looking forward to tailgating with the Turf District crew and all the great Elks fans out there as well. Looking forward to meeting them. We star on the, I don't want to say star necessarily, but I feel we're stars on the chat for the Turf District podcast, and we always come and we love chiming in with those guys, and got to meet quite a few really wonderful people online, and I'm really excited now to be able to meet them face to face and say, "Oh yeah, you're so and so," and yeah, you're Cliffy D, you're Tim Capper. Holy shit! Oops. My language. See how excited I am, folks, to meet you in Edmonton?
They do say that. They do say that. I've heard them, so Cliff isn't lying. So, yeah, so it's going to be fun nonetheless. I mean, it's but just as a reminder too, we are, as we mentioned, I think earlier this week, our last show, that we are going to be getting on somebody from the Alouettes to talk about the 2024 season ticket campaign that has been currently tentatively pushed to next week's episode, so stay tuned. But stay tuned to all of our socials for that. Also, keep in mind too that with the Alouettes, they have started their 2024 season ticket campaign. So if you are a current member, go ahead and make sure you check out all the offers. And if you're not, check out the offers to see if you want to become one. And there was one other thing I was trying to mention, and I just totally forgot about what it was. But it is what. Oh, yes. And season ticket holders, the Alouettes also sent out a thing this week. If you want, you're getting an early cheat code, so to speak, to get some tickets for the Eastern semifinal if it is being hosted in Montreal. So you should have received your emails already for that. So take advantage of that offer if you do choose to do so. So we're coming into the last half. The Owls will have a bye week after the Edmonton game. But again, it's still going to be. I'm still looking forward to the next couple of weeks, dude, because as soon as the regular season's over, obviously we get into the playoffs, so it should be fun.
Yeah, and again, this Alouettes team, one thing to talk about, and even going back to last Saturday at the season ticket holder event, I mean, they're saying all the right things when it comes to, oh yeah, we're working hard. We're gonna, we want to bring home the Grey Cup. We want to celebrate with you great fans, and it doesn't feel like lip service. You know what I mean? Like you believe that this team is built to win. You believe that they're built to compete. And to hear Cody Fajardo talk about like how important it is for him, like how much he has fallen in love with the city of Montreal and how they've embraced him as their quarterback. It's tremendous. And you see the work that these guys are putting in. I mean, we saw it during practice. We saw it this past Monday against Ottawa. We'll see it this coming Saturday versus Edmonton. This is a team that is built to win. This team is built to compete and be a force in the Canadian Football League. And to be able to see all this coming at the best possible time is rewarding in and of itself. But you got to keep it going. That's what this is now for Montreal, is they've got to keep things going. You cannot rest on your laurels. You cannot just coast by and hope that things fall your way. It doesn't work like that. You got to put in the work, and that's what these guys are doing. And it's refreshing to see. There's been times where you see like teams just kind of go through the motions because they don't have the best record. They're not going to make the playoffs, so screw it. We're just going to collect a paycheck and call it a day. You don't get that here. Like here, they even describe themselves as a blue collar team, like a lunch pail, hard hat kind of team, and I see some of that. I can't say that 100%, and I'm not trying to disparage them in any way. It's just they are a hardworking team. There's absolutely no question about that. I think they got the tools to succeed. I think they realize that they've got what it takes to be potentially a Grey Cup winner, but you got to go out and do the work. You got to go out and show every week. You got to prove every single week that you are who you say you are. And right now, things are looking good in Montreal. Things are looking good with the Alouettes organization from top to bottom. There's a lot to be excited about, folks. And if you're not on the bandwagon already, I highly suggest you get your act together, jump on board, because this team is going to do something very special. You feel it in the air. It's palpable. You feel it amongst the season ticket holders. You talking with administration, talking with the players, talking with everybody that's associated with this organization. You just get nothing but good feelings, a good vibe. And that's something that had been missing for quite some time here. And to be able to have that back in a consistent way, there's really nothing like it. There really truly is nothing like winning football. And the way this team is built, you can't help but feel like it's going to be like this for years to come. And I know the Canadian Football League is very cyclical in nature. I mean, one week you're top dog, next minute you're in the basement. That's just how it is. But right now, Montreal is riding a great momentum wave. And folks, if you're not a part of it, there's still time. You can get on board. It's going to be great. I promise you. This team is doing everything they can to take us to the promised land. And it's just a simple matter of, do you want to be on board or not? So if you're not on board already, folks, now is a very, very good time to jump on.
Make sure that you are following us on all of our socials, so you'll be able to see when we schedule our next Flight Deck Live. Also, if you are following us on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications for when we do go live. But we, again, we're glad you guys joined us this week. Hope you guys all had a great Canadian Thanksgiving. And we look forward to coming to you guys from Edmonton. And or if we only, or if you're only listening to us next week on the next podcast, we'll that's fine. We'll be here to talk about the Alouettes win, lose, or draw. So, Cliff, I will see you in the friendly skies, and we will talk to you guys later. So, for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.